Okay, so today our goal is to use properties of operation to solve problems. As you can see on the first page of your, right there. Here are the properties of addition and the properties of multiplication. So the commutative property, let's talk about that. If the order of the add-ins change, the sum stays the same. So 12 plus 7 is 19, and 7 plus 12 is 19. So the numbers moved around. Does anybody know what it means to commute? Logan, what's it mean to commute?
Oh, I have a question.
What?
Do you want me to And I forgot.
Who knows what it means to commute? Elena, do you live in Dodge? So Elena commutes from Dodge to Spearville to school. Laura commutes from Dodge to Spearville to school. Okay? A way that I used to talk about commute, last year I had Mia Benjamin, and Mia Benjamin's mom commutes from their house, like 12 miles out in the country, to Dodge City to work. And it takes her 12 miles to get to Spearville, and then 16 to get to Dodge. Now when she goes home, it takes her 16 to get to Spearville, and 12 back to her home from Spearville. So it doesn't matter if she's going from Dodge to her home or from Spearville to her home, it's still the same amount of miles. So if she goes from home to Spearville to Dodge, she's going 12 plus 16. If she's going from Dodge to Spearville to home, she's going 16 plus 12. And she's still going the same distance. So that's an easy way to think about the commutative property. And in the multiplication, if the order of the factors change, the product stays the same. So it doesn't matter if it's 4 times 9 or 9 times 4. They stay the same. The associative property of addition, if the grouping of add-ins change, the sum stays the same. So the key to this is look where your parentheses are on the left side of the equal sign. They're around the 8 and the 14, aren't they? If you look on the right side of the equal sign, they're around the 5 and the 8. Now, if we add 8 plus 14, we get 22 plus 5 is. If we add 5 plus 8, we get plus 14 is 27. So it doesn't really matter. But when we do parentheses, what does our order of operations say? Parentheses first, right? Okay, same thing if you use the associative property of multiplication. 3 times 6 is 18 times 11. Anybody know what 18 times 11 is? 190? Well, 198. Okay? If I do it the other way, 11 times 3 is 33 times 6. Well, what's 30 times 6? Plus 3 times 6? 18. And 180 plus 18 is 196. So there's your properties. In the commutative property, the numbers switch places. In the associative property, the parentheses move. The identity property of addition, the sum of any number and 0 is that number. I can add 0 to 1 million and still get 1 million. I can add 0 to 50 and get 50. I can add 0 to 900 and get 900, right? In multiplication, it's if any time you multiply by 1, that's the identity property. It's still going to be that number that you multiplied by. Says the table shows the number of bones in several parts of the human body. What is the total number of bones in ribs, skull, and spine. Use properties to find. The ribs are 24, the skull is 28, and the spine is 26. What property can we use? What did they do? They have 24, 28, 26, 28, blank, 26. What's missing? 24. I guess I have to write it in. Okay, so what property did they use? Did the numbers switch?
Yeah.
Yes. So this one is the commutative property. Okay? I'm not going to write that in because when I push answer, they're all going to pop in. So then what did they do here? They grouped 24 and what in parentheses? What number are they grouping in parentheses? 26. Okay? So they used the commutative. Then they grouped 24 and 26. Why do you think they grouped 24 and 26?
Because it makes it easy.
It does. It makes the number what? 50. And that would be easy to add to 28. So here they use the associative property. Then they added 50 plus 28 to get 78. It says use mental math. And if you look for those combinations, like the 6 and the 4, we're going to make 10, right? So we knew we would have a 0 there, and that would make it easier to add. So there are 78 bones in the skull and the spine. Okay? Now we must be going to talk a little bit more about the distributive property, or we haven't talked about the distributive property. Multiplying a sum by a number is the same as multiplying each add-in by that number and then adding the product. So we can add 7 plus 9 and get 16, and multiply that by 5. And 16 times 5 is what? What is 5 times 10? 50. And 5 times 9? And so 50 plus 45 is 95. Well, what is 5 times 7?
35.
And 5 times 9?
4.5.
So 35 plus 45 is 80. Is that what we got on the other side? Oh, we should have. We must have mismultiplied. What is 7 times 9? Or 7 plus 9?
16.
16. And we got 16 times 5. 5 times 10 is 50, right? And 5 times 6 is 30, which equals 80. And so we said 5 times 7 is 35, plus 45, which gives us 80. So they just took that 5 and multiplied it by each of those add-ins. Use one way to use addition. 8 times 59. They have the 9, so what's missing here? We have the 9 of the 59. What's missing right there?
5.
Not the 5, but 5 represents 50 in this case, right? So now we can say 8 times 50 plus 8 times 9. We just distributed our 59. And so 8 times 50 is, 8 times 0 is 0, right? 8 times 5 is 40. And 8 times 9 is 72. And 400 plus 72 is?
472. What's that number, 400?
Yes, sir. That is 400. Sometimes we need to also be listeners, not just visual learners, okay? Sometimes when I go to write on here, it doesn't do what I want it to. Another way. Oh, now why do you think they put, so we have 8 times 59 equals 8 times something minus 1. What do you think that times something is? Okay, but what number are we going to put in there? 60. Because 60 minus 1 is 59, right? Okay, so we're going to put 60 here. Then we're going to do our distributive property. So 8 times 60 is 480, right? And 8 times 1 is? And 480 minus 8 is 472. Okay, this is example 2 at the bottom. It says complete the equation and tell which property. 23 times what is 23? 1. What property is that? The identity property. Very good. Remember, 1 times any number is that number for multiplication. Yeah, what's the identity property for addition?
A number times plus 1.
Not 1.
0.
Plus 0. Very good. Okay, let's see what the think says. A number times 1 is equal to itself. That's the identity property. Let's try another one. 47 times 15 is equal to 15 times 47. Okay. What property is that? Commutative of, Emma? Commutative property of multiplication. Okay, so under your properties, you should have written identity property of multiplication. You have to say identity property of multiplication. And you have to say multiplication. And identity is spelled I-D-E-N. That's this one. Identity property of multiplication. So, and then the second one is the commutative property of. Use the properties to find 4 times 23 times 25. 23 times what? Times 25. What needs to go in there? A 4. And what is that property of multiplication? We move things around, so we commuted. So that one is the commutative. If you don't know how to spell commutative and you can't read mine, you can sure look back at your front page. Now we're going to group them and put some parentheses around them. We're not going to change them again, but we are going to put the parentheses. So what property does that make it? When we add the parentheses, it's the associative property. Now let's look at why maybe they grouped 4 times 25. Why did they group 4 times 25 rather than 25 times 23 or 4 times 23? Aiden, why did they do that?
Because 25 plus 4 equals 100.
4 times 25 is 100, and we know that, right?
Yes.
We know that because 4 quarters is 100 cents. Or we just know that there are 4 25s in 100. So now we have 23 times 25. Well, we can bring our zeros right down here, can't we? And what's 1 times 23?
23.
So we use the identity property there. Okay, this is number 4, and you're going to do it on your own, but let's look at it really quickly. What could I add together to get me that nice 0 in my ones place? How could I group these? Aiden, what might I group?
107 and 13.
Okay, so I might move them around to say 107 plus 13. Whoops. Maybe I would even put those in parentheses. Plus 0 plus 39. Okay, and 107 plus 13 is what? 3 plus 7 is 0. Morgan, 120. Plus 39. And now I can easily add that in my head, right? What's in the ones place? A 9 and a 0. And in the tens is a 2 and a 3. And in the hundredths is a 1.